Isn't my 401k a retirement plan? It's a common question. Today we talk about what a 401k is and what it isn't right now on Retiring Today. This is Retiring Today. I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Sean Honkamp. They're both certified financial planners and certified financial fiduciaries. Sean is also a CPA. So today, guys, we want to talk about the 401k. Loren, it's a common retirement savings, what should we call it? Vehicle, retirement savings account.
Investment account.
Investment account. But a lot of times it gets called a 401k plan, which can be a little confusing for the message we have today.
It's really confusing, and a lot of times we will even reference the 401k not as a 401k investment account, but as a 401k plan. And the confusion often comes into play when people get closer to retirement and they have to make a whole bunch of decisions that they've never had to make before, and they really start to realize there's a lot more to a retirement plan than just the investments like the 401k plan.
And a 401k is a good thing. We are not here today to bash a 401k plan, because if you're fortunate enough to have one, you know that there are a lot of advantages to it. Sean, let's name some of them just to make sure that people know we are in favor of 401k plans.
Yeah, the great advantages often is this is where people start. So if people didn't get started, they might not otherwise start. So a lot of employers offer 401k plans that you want to get signed up, start participating. Most employers will provide a match. So now that along with your own contributions, you're going to get that employer match. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're just trying to build and accumulate that at that stage of life.
Yeah, and 401ks are a great way to get started, and you put the money away, and in those early years, Loren, you don't pay taxes on that money. So that's kind of an advantage, again, in those early working years.
And we've never had more options with the 401k plan as what we have right now. Forever, the 401k plan, your main contributory option was you put money away pre-tax, which means you don't pay taxes on that contribution. It continues to grow tax deferred, and then eventually when you take it out, you owe taxes on it. So what people have been doing is they've been building their retirement tax bill. As they build their retirement account, their retirement tax bill has also been growing, and people are retiring and figuring out they have to pay a whole lot of tax on this money that they've saved, and it may not be quite the deal that they thought it was. So now you have the option in many 401ks or 403b plans to not only contribute pre-tax like we just talked about, but also contribute to the Roth 401k, which means the money goes in after tax. The money then grows tax-free, so when you take it out after 59 and a half or at 65, whenever you do retire, that money comes to you tax-free, so you don't have this huge retirement tax bill that you once had through contributing on the pre-tax side.
Yeah, and in the guise of trying to teach people things, if they have the Roth 401k option available through their employer, which not everyone does, should they automatically do that? Should they do part of their money into that? Should they do that later in their career? What's the tip or teaching moment here?
This is where the retirement planning comes into play with the 401k investment account. Some people, it does make sense, contribute to the pre-tax side because you're in a higher tax bracket now than what you may be in retirement. For a lot of people, however, it makes more sense from a tax standpoint to contribute to the Roth side, because in retirement, if you don't, you could be in a lot higher tax bracket than what you anticipate being. Or maybe it's a combination of. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Some people contribute some money to the pre-tax and then to the Roth. It's different for everybody, and this is where the customization of your retirement plan should come into play.
And that's what we're getting at today, is that yes, a 401k is a good thing, but I'm going to go ahead and answer the question. Is my 401k a retirement plan? No, it's not. And we're going to tell you why today, because there's, like you said, all those moving parts and things are different as you get close to retirement. So we want people to learn something, Sean. So you've got a great tip and a good way to illustrate how when you get closer to retirement, that 401k and how you think about it needs to change.
Yeah, we know these 401ks are so common, and that's where a majority of the retirement savings is accumulated. So it's important that you're very intentional about your 401k. So let's think about, we want to help you think about and know what tips should you be thinking about and how can you maximize that 401k. And let's look at that through the eyes of Jill. So Jill, when she's age 30, her primary focus is simply on that 401k. She knows she wants to get signed up, start putting that money in, get the employer match, and let the 401k do its thing, which the primary purpose is simply to help Jill accumulate for retirement. Some time goes by and now Jill wakes up and Jill is now 57. And you can see her retirement, her focus has really shifted from strictly the 401k, the account itself, to now a bigger retirement focus. At age 57, she knows retirement's just around the corner. The years have gone by, and the next 5 to 10 years for Jill are gonna go by fast, and she's gonna be on the doorstep of retirement. So at age 57, it's an extremely important time to evaluate your risk. You might have made some decisions like Jill when she was 30, and maybe you haven't looked at it since then. But as those years go by, as you get closer to retirement, it's a tremendous opportunity for you to evaluate that risk. And a big takeaway from this is just knowing the investments that you have, that doesn't tell you the risk that you're taking. You will know what you own, but that doesn't correlate and tell you whether or not that investment is aggressive or conservative. So you want to be very intentional about how you're investing and take this opportunity to evaluate exactly what you're doing in your 401k. And for most of you out there, you're going to have 3 different ways that you can evaluate this 401k risk. One way is to call the 401k plan advisor. Most 401ks out there have an advisor that represents that plan. They are compensated to be a resource for you as a participant. So you have the opportunity to reach out to that plan, spend some time with that advisor, and do some analysis. Look at the specific investments you're using, look at the other investment options that are offered for that 401k, and determine if now is the right time for you to make some changes to how you're investing in your 401k. A second way is to reach out and call your current advisor. So if you have established an advisor relationship at some point in your lifetime, now's a great time to leverage that relationship and potentially get a little bit more out of that relationship. You might be using that advisor maybe for some outside money or maybe for life insurance or other life events. Now's a good time to connect with them and make sure that what you're doing with everything they're helping you with aligns with what you're doing over in that 401k. Again, have a better feeling for how much risk you're taking in your 401k. And a third way for you is to start a relationship with a retirement planner. So one takeaway you might have as you see some of these 2 options is your current advisor and retirement planner. That should tell you that not all advisors do the same thing. So as retirement planners, we are helping the families and individuals we work with all the time look at their entire picture. We might be helping them manage a portion of their retirement savings in IRAs. You may still have some of your retirement savings in your 401k. Our process includes looking at that entire picture and giving you more information, helping you be more intentional about how you're investing with your IRAs, along with how you're investing in your 401k. And what you want to do is make sure that what you're doing is aligned and you have a great understanding of exactly how much risk you're taking across your total portfolio. It's important to be intentional. That's the big thing. Get more information as we get into this pre-retirement stage of life.
Okay, so I have an understanding of what I should do to get an evaluation of my risk, but I don't understand, Loren, why I should care about risk so much as I get closer to retirement.
The value of your 401k plan is going to be largely dependent upon the types of investments you're using underneath of it, and then how those investments react. And those investments are going to react to most of the time the bond markets and the stock market. So the amount of risk you take in your 401k plan will determine when we go through really bad times in this market, the bond and stock market, like a 2022, how much is your portfolio going to be down? And then the questions need to be asked, are you comfortable with that movement of your portfolio? And maybe even a more important question is that downward movement of your investments, is that going to upset what you're trying to accomplish from a retirement planning standpoint? If you have $1 million in your 401k plan and you lose 300,000 of that million, and you're 2 years away from needing that money to live on for retirement, will that impact your retirement?
Yes, most likely it would impact most people's, right?
In many cases, that is what happens. And we saw that every time we go through a bad time in the market, we see that. 2008 is one of the biggest times that we saw where people had to come out of retirement because they lost 50-60% of their life savings in a short period of time, or they had to push their retirement time frame back because they lost so much money. That is why the amount of risk in your 401k plan is so important. And the importance of it is even greater the closer you get to retirement.
We'll continue talking about your 401k and why it's not a retirement plan next.
You dream of a happy retirement, but there are some big questions to answer first. Do I have enough saved? When should I take Social Security? How will I pay for health care and keep up with inflation? Go to MerkleRetire.com to schedule a 15-minute retirement checkup call to talk directly with a retirement planner and get answers to your important retirement questions. The first step to your retirement starts with a 15-minute retirement checkup call.
Anytime I have even the smallest question about my accounts or what effect the latest tax law might have on my situation, the Merkle Retirement Planning team is always there and quick to help. I'm so glad they treat you like family. I'm so happy to have such an excellent team working for my future and ensuring I do the best to achieve my financial goals.
Merkle Retirement Planning. Your retirement starts here.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm here with Loren Merkle and Sean Honkamp. Loren, you just talked about someone losing $300,000. And I want to go back to that because I think if you were listening, you thought, I don't want that to happen to me. So let's make sure, again, it's crystal clear. So let's say Jill does one of the three things that Sean just talked about. Will someone spell it out for her and say, you could lose this much money out of your portfolio? Or how does it correlate?
It's this risk conversation where a lot of confusion can really come into play. Let's go back to the $1 million, $300,000 example. Let's say we all have $1 million in our 401k plan.
All right.
And
sounds good.
We all
Thanks, Loren.
no problem. We all agreed that we wanted to be moderate. We wanted to take a moderate amount of risk, and we go through a really bad time in the market, and we are all down $300,000. Now, I might be evaluating my 401k plan and say, yeah, that's about moderate. I feel okay about that. I mean, nobody wants to lose $300,000, but when you take risk, you know you're going to be down.
Right.
And I'm feeling that's kind of on par with what I would consider moderate. You're sitting there thinking $300,000, that's not moderate at all. That feels a lot more aggressive, and I never knew that I could be down $300,000. And you're feeling like, well, that's no big deal. Actually, I could be down way more than that, right?
go.
That type of language, conservative, moderate, aggressive, that's very subjective language, that could mean something different to everybody. So when we talk about portfolios and when we measure risk, we measure it in a numerical way. So our evaluation of portfolios is you have $1 million based on how it's currently invested. If we go through a really poor 12-month cycle in the market, the way it's invested, you could be down $200,000. How do you feel? And if you're comfortable with that, then that's a good starting point. If you're taking too much risk, you don't feel comfortable with being down $200,000, then you can do something about it so you're not going to be down $200,000. Or if you want to take more risk, then you know that you can, so that using $200,000 as opposed to conservative, moderate, or aggressive is not subjective, and it's a lot better way for people to dial in the exact type of risk they want within their portfolio.
And that's the advantage, Sean, of maybe a retirement planner. And we don't know for sure that your current advisor wouldn't do that. We don't know for sure, I suppose, that I'm looking at those three options again, that the 401k plan advisor wouldn't do that. But most people are most familiar with those moderate, conservative.
Yeah, it's just a different way of talking about risk in your portfolio. So if you are having conversations with your 401k plan advisor or your current financial advisor and you're not having conversations in that way, this is a conversation that you should be having. Let's get away from the conservative, moderate, aggressive type of talk, and let's really pinpoint how much risk from a dollar amount standpoint you're taking in your portfolio. And there's so many different benefits that come with the conversation that develops this way. And one of the biggest benefits is there's very little surprise. One of the hardest things about going through downtimes in the market is when your portfolio is down $200,000 and you don't know you're taking that kind of risk, that is a huge surprise. And then the next thing you're thinking is, when is the bleeding going to stop? Right? It's down 200 now. Is it going to continue to go? How is your portfolio going to continue to react? So taking away those surprises, creating more awareness around the real risk in the portfolio is the only way to go, especially as you get closer to retirement.
And if someone watching is listening to the numbers that Loren is talking about and they don't know if 300,000 is too much or enough for them, if you sit down with a retirement planner, Sean, they can help you identify what level of risk might be appropriate based on some of your other retirement savings or your retirement vision.
Those conversations are extremely helpful until you go through something like that. You don't necessarily know. And at a certain stage of life, when you are 30, that 401k advisor might be the best resource for you. They know the plan. You're just looking to get in there and get involved. At a middle stage of life, if you have a current advisor, they might be the best resource. They might have some of your IRA money, and they'll be able to look at your 401k and give you a better sense. But now we know later stages of life. We get into that pre-retirement stage of life. The most important thing is for you to be intentional. Nobody cares about your money more than you do. So you want to be very intentional about what you're looking for and get as much information as you can. And that's a big part of our process. So we go through that process. We're looking at everything, whether we're managing those retirement savings or not directly. We're trying to look at that entire picture. And now with the resources and the tools that we use, we can put all of your retirement balances in there. We know exactly what you own, and that allows us to be able to understand and know exactly what level of risk is being taken on a total portfolio. Now that we know that level of risk, that's where we can give you that information. We can have this conversation with you and say, all right, if we have a very poor market, here's how much you could potentially expect to go down. If we have a very strong market, here's how much you could potentially expect to go up. The up is great, right? It's the down, that's where that brings risk into a retirement plan. So we need to focus on that. Let's have a better understanding of what kind of volatility we expect to potentially incur in a down market, and now we can use that information to help you make better decisions. It still comes down to being intentional. Let's have more information. Let's be very intentional about what kind of investment decisions you're making as you design that overall portfolio.
And there's so much that goes into retirement planning, and sometimes people don't really know where they should lie from an overall risk standpoint. And that's where our planning process can really help them determine what is too much risk, what is too little risk. And that's really our job when it comes to the risk conversation is, let's say, based on your entire plan, how much income you need when you retire, the income resources that you do have, you can't take any more risk than this, because when things go south, it's going to blow up your retirement plan. Or you should take at least this amount of risk because you need to have this type of growth to achieve your retirement goals. So here's your spectrum of risk. Not more than this, not more than this. Anywhere in here is okay. Now, where do you feel the most comfortable? And that type of conversation through our planning process makes that decision a lot easier for most people.
Today we're talking about the 401k and why it's not a retirement plan on its own. And another thing I think that helps kind of illustrate that point, guys, is that the 401k has a lot of rules around it, and there's contribution limits to the 401k, and it alone is not a retirement plan because of some of those limits.
Yeah, you got to follow the rules. So 401k plan is an approved or qualified plan in the eyes of the IRS. They set contribution limits. There's match limits. So we want to try and we want to be aware of that and obviously use it to its maximum. So like in 2024, we know that each individual, you can put up to $23,000 into that 401k. If you're over age 50, you're able to put an additional $7,500. So now we're over 30,000, or right at 30,500 of total contribution. So we want to be aware of these 401k rules. We want to use them in the best way possible.
And Loren, that money is essentially, in a way, kind of tied up until a certain age.
When you put money into a 401k plan, essentially you're making a deal. You're making a deal with the IRS, and if you contribute pre-tax, that deal is you're not going to touch this money till at least 59.5 in most cases, and that money is going to grow tax deferred, and then you take it out, you're going to pay the taxes on it. If it's in the Roth, the deal is you're not going to touch this money till at least 59.5 in most cases. When you take it out, it's going to come to you tax free. So 59.5 is a reason for many people to celebrate, because now in most cases, this is still very plan dependent, but in most cases, most plans will allow you, even if you're still working, to take money out from the 401k plan, not have to pay a penalty on it, and roll it over into your own account underneath your name, your control, with literally just about any type of investment option you want to. But that 59.5 timeline for most people is very important.
Okay, so we're focusing a lot on the 401k today. And again, if you have a 401k, that's a good thing. That's a good way to get started at retirement savings. And people are probably, again, still thinking, I've got that, that's good. But a good way to see that no matter what you're doing as far as planning for retirement, there's more to think about it, is the Online Journey to Retirement workshop.
In the Online Journey to Retirement workshop, we have a hypothetical couple, John and Sue. They're 62 years old. They want to retire in 3 short years, and they have very specific retirement goals that they want to accomplish. One of the benefits of that Online Journey to Retirement workshop is we show you the strategies that John and Sue implement to achieve their specific goals. Now, your goals might be a little bit different, but that's okay. The strategies, the tactics that John and Sue use, you can use to help you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish from an overall retirement planning standpoint. And it's very simple to watch. You can consume that information from the comfort of your own home and take in all the information to help you on your journey to retirement.
You've got to meet John and Sue. Here's how. Go to retirewithmerkle.com. The information's on your screen right now. There's a QR code there too. Remember, you can open up your phone, open up the camera, hover over the screen right now. Go to retirewithmerkle.com. Choose a time and a date that works for you, and you can go to our online Journey to Retirement workshop. More on why a 401k isn't a retirement plan next.
Do I have enough saved for retirement? When should I take Social Security? Which Medicare option is best? How do I plan for inflation? Sometimes the road to retirement starts with more questions than answers. We're here to help. Join us for our upcoming Journey to Retirement workshop. Get answers and start your retirement journey with confidence. Our online workshop includes information on Secure Act 2.0 and changing retirement rules. Visit retirewithmerkle.com to register for an upcoming workshop. Your retirement journey starts now.
The Merkle Retirement Planning Team provides personable and professional expertise unrivaled in this area. They include us in every step of the planning process. The peace of mind provided to us by the Merkle team allows us to fully enjoy this special time of our lives. Instead of feeling snakebit, we feel confident that with the Merkle Retirement Planning Team at our sides, we can navigate any challenge that comes our way.
Merkle Retirement Planning. Your retirement starts here.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm here with Loren Merkle and Sean Honkoff, and we're talking about why your 401k isn't a retirement plan. It's a great savings vehicle, and I keep using vehicle. Like, is it a car? You get in it, you could drive it.
You can use it to buy a car.
A really nice car, right? So let's go back to that concept of putting that money into your own name and into your own control, because that might be kind of new for some people who are thinking, oh, my 401k is my retirement plan.
For most people, their 401k investments represents the bulk of their retirement savings. So you want as much control over the bulk of your retirement savings as you possibly can. The 401k plan is not designed for you to have maximum control. In fact, it's actually designed for you to have less control. When it comes to the investment options, there's very few investment options underneath most 401k plans, and especially if you're looking to be more conservatively positioned underneath your investments, the 401k plans, most of them offer a stable value account and maybe a couple different bond funds and maybe some target date funds that will get more conservative, but that's about it. So you're very limited, especially in the conservative investment options. The employer owns the 401k plan. You own your money, but the employer owns the 401k plan, which means they make the rules around that 401k plan. Them and the Department of Labor essentially make those rules. You just have to follow them. You want the most control over your retirement money as you can, and that's why the 401k plan is more designed for contributions, not designed to house most of your retirement money.
So it's great to focus on use it for what it's intended for. Put the money in there, accumulate while you're working. But now when you get to this later stage of life, when you can get control, we stress that. Let's get control of it. You mentioned most 401k plans, 20 to 30 options. You get to an IRA, the universe, the entire stock market is available to you.
And for most people at 59 and a half, is that the earliest they can do this? I think what they call it in-service withdrawal if you're still working.
For most people, for the bulk of their money, the 59 and a half is. There, of course, are some exceptions. There's always exceptions to every rule. But for most people, 59 and a half is that time frame where you can still work with that employer, but then take control over your money. And if you do it right, it's not a taxable event. You just shift it from the 401k plan over to an IRA, which is underneath your name, your control. Now, for most people in a lot of situations, that does make sense, but that is not a blanket recommendation. So before you do that, you want to make sure it does work for you. It is your right strategy, because there are some cases for some people where that doesn't make the most sense.
So what I think I'm hearing Loren saying, Sean, is the 401k is great for saving and investing, but spending out of it in retirement for most people isn't isn't usually the best recommendation.
Oftentimes people are thinking, well, this is just a seamless transition. I've put all my money in here and now I'm going to retire. I'm just going to gradually take all my money out. But what we find out with 401k plans is it may not be as easy as you think. A lot of 401k plans, they don't necessarily allow you to just set up that regular monthly distribution like we do with most of the retirement families we work with. Out of the IRAs, we control that. We set up those monthly distributions. The 401k plan, like Loren said, is the employer's plan. They may or may not allow for you to take a regular monthly distribution. You might be limited to one a year, one every 6 months. We don't know. Again, you don't have full control of that. It's their rules. So that isn't the vehicle or the account that we want to just continue to use into retirement. Get control of it. Get that money to an IRA. Now you have full control of it. We can develop that income plan, take money when you want, take lump sum, take regular. You have full control of taking that. You can withhold the amount of taxes. That's another aspect. We can control what level of tax that is the right fit to withhold from your distributions. Most 401k plans are required to withhold 20% on the federal side. That may or may not be the right amount for what your year looks like from a tax standpoint.
Let's go back to John and Sue, because I just know you're going to want to meet them, because John and Sue, they take some money out of the retirement accounts, but what you do or talk about with John and Sue in Social Security and that online Journey to Retirement workshop is eye-opening for a lot of people.
Many people don't know that if you're a married couple, you have up to 81 different options when it comes time to elect your Social Security. And that's just Social Security alone. If we combine that with the income options you have with your 401k plan and your other investments, all of that needs to be considered when determining what you do from a Social Security standpoint. We show you in the Journey to Retirement workshop how John and Sue maneuver through all of those decisions and bring those decisions down to a handful that make the most sense for them, because that's how that decision becomes much easier to make. You have this big array of decisions, narrow that down to a handful that makes sense, and then pick the one that makes the most sense for you. We do that in the online Journey to Retirement workshop for John and Sue. You see how we do that, and the outcome for John and Sue in this Journey to Retirement workshop is they saved in excess of $80,000 of lifetime benefit, meaning they squeezed more out of Social Security because they were able to maximize their different options of what they had available to them. So it's meaningful to John and Sue. That up to, or the over $80,000 extra that they get is going to go a long way to help them accomplish their lifestyle goals in retirement.
$80,000, that is a lot of money. So you probably want to know, well, how can I see what John and Sue do? Well, here it is. It's our online Journey to Retirement workshop. Go to retirewithmerkle.com right now. You can choose a time and a date that works for you, and then get comfortable, because you're going to spend a valuable 2 hours learning all about retirement, the decisions that are coming, and some really great strategies that you can take away after watching that online Journey to Retirement workshop. This is Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
Do I have enough saved for retirement? When should I take Social Security? Which Medicare option is best? How do I plan for inflation? Sometimes the road to retirement starts with more questions than answers. We're here to help. Join us for our upcoming Journey to Retirement workshop. Get answers and start your retirement journey with confidence. Our online workshop includes information on Secure Act 2.0 and changing retirement rules. Visit retirewithmerkle.com to register for an upcoming workshop. Your retirement journey starts now.